A question, a debate that has lasted for more than 2,000 years, and two different answers that laid the foundations of modern science. So, which one would you choose? Would you trust your mind to reach the truth, or your eyes? To understand the universe, would you first build theories and fit the world to them? Or would you first observe the world and then develop theories? In short, are you a Platonist or an Aristotelian? This question did not concern only the philosophers of ancient Greece. It shaped the scientific method we use today, modern education, and even the way we perceive reality itself. And this story began in Athens about 2,400 years ago. In the 5th century BCE, Athens was not merely a city. It was also one of the greatest laboratories of thought in human history. Here, philosophers were trying to understand how the universe worked. Some claimed that everything was made of water. Some believed the universe could be explained through numbers. Some even argued that change itself was an illusion. But among these thinkers, one was different: Socrates. What interested Socrates was not the structure of the universe, but the structure of human thought. He believed in questions more than answers, because to him, wisdom did not begin with thinking you knew, it began with realizing that you did not. That is why he spent less time teaching and more time asking questions, constantly, persistently, and sometimes with a depth that made people uncomfortable. This is how the approach we now call the Socratic method was born, breaking a problem into smaller parts, questioning assumptions, eliminating errors, and moving step by step toward the truth. Perhaps this was the first spark of scientific thinking. Socrates' greatest legacy was not the books he wrote, because he never wrote any books. His legacy was his students, especially one of them, Plato. After Socrates' death, Plato founded a school called the Academy. This school would become not only one of the most influential institutions of the ancient world, but one of the most influential educational institutions in all of human history. Even the word academy that we still use today is part of his legacy. According to Plato, reality existed in a place deeper than the world we see. Because our senses could deceive us, everything we saw changed, aged, decayed, disappeared. But mathematics did not change. The angles of a triangle did not change. The geometry of a circle did not change. For this reason, Plato believed that perfect and unchanging forms lay at the foundation of the universe. The world we see was merely a shadow of that perfect reality. This idea influenced philosophers, mathematicians, and scientists for centuries, because it strengthened the belief that universal laws existed beneath the surface of the universe, awaiting to be discovered. However, one of the students educated in the academy thought differently: Aristotle. And perhaps one of the most important intellectual disagreements in human history began here. According to Aristotle, knowledge did not come from the heavens. Knowledge came from observation. First, we had to look at the world. Then, we could build theories. In other words, reality first, explanation second. Aristotle studied plants, observed animals, tracked the skies, classified nature. His method feels surprisingly familiar to modern scientists, because science today follows the same path. First observation, then experimentation, then theory. Many of Aristotle's conclusions were wrong. He believed that Earth was the center of the universe. He thought a vacuum could not exist. He argued that the elements naturally sought their proper places, but the conclusions were not the most important thing. The method was because Aristotle was trying to understand nature, and he did so by looking directly at nature itself. This approach would later become one of the cornerstones of the scientific method. What is fascinating is this: both Plato and Aristotle were wrong about many things, yet both changed human history. Plato taught us that hidden laws might exist beneath the universe. Aristotle showed us that to discover those laws, we must study nature itself. Modern science is, in many ways, a combination of these two ideas. On one side, mathematics. On the other, observation. On one side, theory. On the other, data. Today, when we study the birth of galaxies, when we investigate subatomic particles, when we develop artificial intelligence, we are still pursuing the same question. How can we reach the truth? Perhaps that is the true legacy of Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle. Not that they gave us definitive answers, but that they taught us how to ask the right questions. In this video, we explored the three great thinkers of ancient Greece. But perhaps the real story was never about the philosophers themselves. It was the story of humanity's search for truth. See you in the next journey through history,